You can't stop replaying that conversation, can you? The one where you said something awkward, where you imagine everyone judging you. Or maybe it's the future that chains you, job interviews, relationships, money. Your mind runs in circles like a courtroom with no judge, no verdict, only endless arguments. And the more you think, the less you live. Now here's the paradox. 2.5 millennia ago, a man walked the streets of Athens who faced the same restless mind you do today. His name was Socrates. He didn't silence his thoughts. He interrogated them. He invented a method so radical that it still terrifies and liberates minds to this very day. In the next few minutes, you will discover this method. It's not meditation, not distraction, not positive affirmations. It's a way of thinking that dismantles the very machinery of anxiety. If you stay, you'll learn how to break the cycle of overthinking at its root. Ignore it, and you may never escape the prison of your own thoughts. The trap of overthinking. You already know the feeling, the endless loop. You're lying in bed, the lights are off, but your mind is wide awake. You're replaying something you said, analyzing every word, every pause, every imagined reaction. Or maybe you're fast-forwarding into the future, constructing 10 possible disasters for a situation that hasn't even happened yet. Your body is exhausted, but your mind is staging a theater of shadows that never ends. This is overthinking. Psychologists call it rumination when it's about the past and catastrophizing when it's about the future. Whatever name you give it, the cost is always the same. Paralysis. You don't act, you don't decide, you don't live. You just rehearse life inside your head until it passes you by. Science confirms what you already feel. Studies link chronic overthinking with anxiety disorders, depression, and burnout. The brain burns energy like a machine stuck in overdrive but produces nothing useful. You feel drained, restless, incapable of presence. And the worst part? The more you think about escaping the spiral, the tighter it coils around you. Think about your daily life. You want to send a message but draft it 10 times before deleting it altogether. You want to take a leap in your career but research so much that you never take the first step. You want to relax, but instead spend hours scrolling, comparing, doubting. Overthinking steals your time, your confidence, your peace. And here's the cruel irony. Overthinking masquerades as intelligence. It feels like preparation, like caution, like being thorough. But it's not wisdom, it's inertia. True thinking clarifies. Overthinking muddies. True thinking leads to action. Overthinking leaves you stranded at the crossroads, endlessly analyzing the roads without ever walking down one. You might believe the solution is to stop thinking, to push thoughts away, to silence them. But you've tried, haven't you? You've distracted yourself with music, with social media, with endless to-do lists. And still, the thoughts return, stronger, louder, more persistent. Because your mind does not obey suppression. This is where Socrates enters. He did not fight thoughts by force. He did not drown them in noise. Instead, he did something radical. He questioned them, patiently, relentlessly, as if thoughts were witnesses on trial. He turned over thinking into dialogue, into investigation, into philosophy itself. Socrates believed that an unexamined life is not worth living. But here's the deeper truth. An unexamined thought is not worth keeping, and the method he used to examine those thoughts, the Socratic Method, is what you're about to learn. So the question now is this: are you willing to put your own thoughts on trial, to cross-examine them, expose their illusions, and free yourself from the prison they've built? Because if you are, then you're ready for the next step. Socrates' method to stop overthinking everything. The Socratic Method to stop overthinking. Overthinking feeds on unchallenged thoughts. They arrive dressed as truth and you accept them without trial. Socrates refused to grant any thought such easy citizenship. He believed every claim, especially the ones in your own mind, deserves interrogation. His weapon? The question. The Socratic Method is not abstract philosophy. It is a scalpel you can hold in your own hand, every day, every hour, whenever thoughts spiral out of control. It works through 4 questions, 4 trials, 4 moments of courage. Let's step into them together. 1. Is this thought true? A thought appears. I'm going to fail. Without examination, it becomes a prophecy. You believe it, embody it, and act as if failure is already sealed. But Socrates would ask, how do you know this is true? He used to corner the wisest men of Athens, exposing the cracks in their certainty. They would claim knowledge, and he would peel away layer after layer until only ignorance remained. Imagine turning this weapon inward. When your mind whispers, they hate me, ask, do I know this? Or am I imagining it? When it insists, I'll never succeed, ask, is this truth or fear disguised as truth? This is not denial. It is clarity. Most of what keeps you awake at night isn't truth. It's untested assumption. By asking if a thought is true, you shine a light on shadows, and shadows dissolve in light. Modern psychology confirms this. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, one of the most effective treatments for anxiety, begins with the same step, challenging automatic thoughts. The overlap is not coincidence, it is Socrates reborn in the therapist's office. Think of a courtroom. Your thought walks in, declaring guilt. Socrates sits at the bench and asks, but where is the evidence? Suddenly, the thought is not a judge. It is a witness under cross-examination. That shift alone dismantles its power. 2. What evidence do I have? Overthinking thrives on stories. You tell yourself, I'm not good enough, and your mind floods with every past mistake as if presenting a file of evidence. But Socrates would not stop at the prosecution's case. He would ask for the defense as well. When you tell yourself, everyone thinks I'm incompetent, stop and ask, where is the evidence? What facts support this? What facts contradict it? Socrates was relentless with evidence. When politicians claimed wisdom, he demanded proof. When poets claimed divine inspiration, he demanded clarity. And almost always, their case collapsed. Do the same with your thoughts. If the evidence is weak, if it's based on speculation, on what you think someone else is thinking, then the thought cannot stand. Psychology calls this cognitive reframing. By demanding evidence, you interrupt the brain's tendency to magnify negatives. You create balance. Here's an exercise. Imagine a Socratic dialogue inside your head. Thought, I'm going to embarrass myself at the meeting. Socrates, how do you know? Thought, because I've messed up before. Socrates, and how many times have you succeeded? Are you ignoring that evidence? Notice what happens. The thought loses its throne. You, not your fear, become the questioner. Carter, what's the worst that could happen? Overthinking inflates fear. It paints catastrophes in high definition, humiliation, failure, rejection. Socrates would shrink these monsters with a simple question. What's the worst that could happen? At first, your mind resists. It clings to vague terror. But when you press it, the worst often looks far smaller than the fog suggested. You bomb the presentation. Embarrassing, yes. But will you recover? Absolutely. You confess your feelings and they don't reciprocate. Painful, yes, but fatal? Hardly. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, practiced a similar technique called premeditatio malorum, imagining the worst in order to strip it of power. Socrates anticipated the same insight. Fear unexamined grows. Fear confronted shrinks. By naming the worst, you often discover it's survivable. And if it's survivable, why waste life fearing it in advance? Psychology backs this up. Catastrophic thinking dissolves when you drag it into specifics. Vague dread paralyzes. Concrete outcomes empower. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen if I act? What's the worst that could happen if I don't? Which prison would I rather live in? 4. Does this thought help me live better? This is the final and deepest cut. Even if a thought is true, Even if evidence supports it, even if the worst is terrifying, Socrates would still ask, does this thought help you live a better life? Socrates' mission was not abstract truth, but the examined life, a life of virtue, courage, clarity. A thought that paralyzes you, even if partially true, may not deserve your obedience. Take the thought, life is uncertain. I could lose everything tomorrow. True? Yes. Evidence? Endless. Worst case? Death itself. But does obsessing over it help you live? No. It robs you of the very time you fear losing. This is the ultimate filter, usefulness. If a thought does not guide you toward action, wisdom, or courage, then it is dead weight. Modern psychology echoes this too. Acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, teaches that thoughts are tools, not masters. The question is not, is it true, but is it useful? Socrates would have nodded. Imagine carrying a bag of stones everywhere. Each stone is a thought. What if they judge me? What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? Socrates asks you to put the stones on trial. Which ones actually help you walk forward? Which ones only weigh you down? Overthinking is carrying every stone. The Socratic Method is choosing which stones to keep. You've now seen the 4 trials. 1. Is this thought true? 2. What evidence do I have? 3. What's the worst that could happen? 4. Does this thought help me live better? Applied together, they turn overthinking into examination, examination into clarity, and clarity into freedom. Instead of drowning in thought, you become its questioner. Instead of fear's prisoner, you become its judge. This is not escapism. It is philosophy as therapy. It is Socrates walking beside you, whispering questions that cut through fog. And here's the paradox. The very act of questioning slows the mind. Overthinking thrives on speed, on runaway chains of speculation. Socratic questioning forces thought into dialogue, into step-by-step analysis. It breaks the fever, restores calm. What happens when you apply this daily? You draft the message and send it instead of rewriting it endlessly. You choose the career step instead of analyzing it to death. You speak, you act, you live. Because now you have a method, not to silence thought, not to escape it, but to master it. Socratic Method against overthinking. Overthinking feels like quicksand. The harder you struggle, the deeper you sink. But Socrates offers not an escape, but a rope. A method that pulls you out by transforming your relationship with thought itself. His tool? The Socratic Method. A way of asking questions that unravels confusion and forces clarity. Let's see how it works, step by step, and how you can use it to silence the noise in your own head. 1. Define the thought clearly. Socrates believed that much of human misery comes from sloppy thinking. We use vague words, half-baked fears, undefined ideas, and when your fear is undefined, it expands endlessly, like a shadow on the wall. Example, you're lying awake at night thinking, I'm a failure. That single phrase spawns 100 scenarios, your career collapsing, your relationships crumbling, your future empty. But what does failure actually mean? Socratic step. Stop. Ask yourself, what do I mean by failure? Is it losing your job? Is it disappointing your parents? Is it not being rich by 30? Suddenly the monster shrinks. You're not fighting failure. You're wrestling with one specific fear. Clarity reduces chaos. When you define the thought, you've already silenced half the noise. 2. Question the assumptions. Overthinking thrives on untested assumptions. Socrates' genius was to poke holes in them until they collapsed. Example, you think, if I make a mistake at work, everyone will lose respect for me. Ask like Socrates, is that true? Has anyone ever respected me less for a single mistake? Do I respect others less when they fail? What happens? The assumption weakens. You realize respect isn't so fragile. The fear rests on a shaky foundation. Overthinking survives because we accept our assumptions as facts. Socrates teaches us to interrogate them until they wither away. 3. Demand evidence. The mind loves worst-case scenarios, but Socrates would ask, what is your proof? Example. You worry, I'm going to embarrass myself during the presentation. Socratic demand. What evidence do I have that this will happen? Have I embarrassed myself before? Even if I did, what happened next? Did people move on? What you'll find. Most fears dissolve under the light of evidence. Your brain predicts humiliation, but your history says you've survived worse. Without evidence, fear is fiction. The Socratic Method turns vague imagination into a courtroom where only facts can testify. 4. Consider alternatives. Socrates didn't accept the first answer. He forced his students to imagine other possibilities. Example. Instead of, if I don't get this job, my life is ruined, ask, what are other possible outcomes? Could this rejection push me toward something better? Could I learn from it? Why it works. Overthinking traps you in one storyline, the tragedy. Alternatives remind you that reality is open-ended, not pre-written. The mind exaggerates the worst. Socrates balances it by expanding your vision of what else could be true. 5. Trace the consequences. One of Socrates' favorite moves was to push an idea to its extreme, revealing its absurdity. Example. If I don't get into this university, I'll never succeed. Socratic push. So you believe one institution determines your entire future? That no one outside this university has ever succeeded? That you're doomed forever? The absurdity becomes clear. You realize your thought collapses under its own weight. Overthinking thrives on drama. Socrates deflates it with logic. 6. Seek the core value. Every obsessive thought hides a deeper concern. Socrates asked questions until he uncovered the hidden value beneath the surface. Example. You obsess about how you looked at a party. Why? Maybe because you value acceptance. Maybe because you crave connection. Once you see the value, the obsession loses power. You realize, I don't care about every opinion. I care about belonging with people who matter. Now the question shifts from did I look stupid to who are the people I truly want to connect with. Overthinking distracts you with surface fears. Socrates leads you to the root, the value that actually matters. 7. Accept ignorance. This was Socrates' final weapon. He admitted he knew nothing, and paradoxically, that gave him peace. Example. You obsess about the future. What if I fail? What if I succeed? What if this? What if that? Socratic move. Do I truly know what will happen? No. Can I control every variable? No. Then why pretend I do? This surrender isn't weakness. It's liberation. Once you accept uncertainty, the mind stops its endless rehearsal. Socrates reminds us, peace doesn't come from knowing all answers, it comes from admitting you don't. Let's apply the entire Socratic method in a single scenario. Imagine you're overthinking a text message. You wrote to someone you like. They haven't replied in 6 hours. Your brain spirals. They hate me. I sounded stupid. I ruined everything. Step 1. Define. What exactly am I afraid of? Rejection. Step 2. Question assumptions. Does slow reply mean rejection? Haven't I been slow before? Step 3. Demand evidence. Has this person shown interest before? Yes. Then why assume the worst? Step 4. Consider alternatives. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they'll reply later. Step 5. Trace consequences. Even if they're not interested, does that ruin my life? Obviously not. Step 6. Seek values. What do I really want? Connection. Can I only find it with this one person? No. Step 7. Accept ignorance. I don't know why they haven't replied. That's reality. I'll live with it. Result. The storm passes. The thought loses its teeth. You move on. You've just walked with Socrates through the battlefield of your own thoughts. And if you've stayed with me until now, let's carve this wisdom into memory. Because these 7 steps are not theory. They are weapons. Use them, and the noise in your head will never control you again. The 7 moves of Socratic thinking. 1. Define the thought. Don't wrestle with shadows. Name the fear clearly. 2. Question the assumptions. Test the foundation. Most of it will crumble. 3. Demand evidence. Don't accept imagination as fact. Ask for proof. 4. Consider alternatives. Don't let the mind trap you in one dark story. 5. Trace the consequences. Stretch the fear until it looks absurd. 6. Seek the core value. Every obsession hides a deeper need. Find it. 7. Accept ignorance. Peace comes not from control, but from surrender. Why this matters today. Overthinking is not just harmless chatter, it's paralysis. It stops you from sending that message, applying for that job, walking into that room, living your life. And Socrates, a man who lived centuries before psychology had a name, handed you the antidote. Philosophy as therapy. He showed us that freedom isn't found in eliminating thoughts, but in mastering them. That clarity is stronger than anxiety. That the mind, when questioned, cannot continue to lie to itself. This isn't just ancient philosophy. It's the blueprint of modern therapy. The same principles behind cognitive behavioral therapy, the same logic behind resilience training, the same clarity that leaders, thinkers, and creators use to move forward without fear. Picture yourself tonight. The thoughts come back. The spiral begins. But this time you don't drown. You pause. You ask, what exactly am I afraid of? Is it really true? Where's the evidence? What else could happen? What's the real value here? Do I truly know the future? And in that moment, the storm loses its power. The prison door of your mind opens, not because the thoughts disappear, but because they can no longer chain you. Socrates once said, an unexamined life is not worth living. Most people interpret this as a call to think more. But maybe, just maybe, it's a call to think better, to stop drowning in shallow thoughts and instead rise into clarity. The cure to overthinking is not less thought, it's disciplined thought. It's turning your questions into tools instead of traps. So the next time your mind spins in circles, remember the voice of Socrates. Ask, question, demand, and uncover. And in the silence that follows, you will find something rare. Peace. If this journey through Socrates' wisdom helped you untangle even one knot in your mind, carry it forward. Try the method tonight, and if you want more philosophy turned into tools for the modern mind, stay with this channel. Because here, we don't just talk about ideas, we sharpen them into weapons against the struggles of life.